Oh well, here we are again, looking for something to get us in the mood. I tell each and every one of my friends that the love we make is really pretty rude. But they don't believe me, 'cause it's written all over my face. Like Gideon and the people see, you and me got different tastes. You like it in the dark, but I like a blue light. Can you turn on a blue light? They cut it up to me so tight. It's you and me all night long. Blue light. Can you turn on a blue light? And everything will be alright. Oh, blue light. You say you wish I was shy. I always take a simple thing and push it way too far. Baby, that's the problem with you and I. You say not in public, but I say in the car. So we need to get wild again, like it was when we first met. Close your eyes and count to 10. And when you open them, I'll be standing naked with nothing but a smile on. Blue light, can you turn on the blue light? Because love is so tight. It's you and me all night long. Blue light, can you turn on the blue light? And everything will be alright. Oh, blue light. magazine. Double heart attack, couple both died in the fight. Oh, baby, I don't wanna cross that road, 'cause I love you too much. Too many things just to heat up your cold touch. Anything I would do, but up until you tell me to. Blue light, can you turn on the blue light? Because I love you so tight. It's you and me all night long. Blue light, can you turn on the blue light? Then everything will be alright. Oh, blue light. Blue light. We turn on the blue light. So I miss me, baby. You and me all night. Blue light. Everything will be alright. Oh, blue light. Blue light. Oh, blue light.
Hi, everybody. It's Kirk from Wordfly. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to be talking about re-engaging lost subscribers. So let's dive into it. Just keep in mind, as usual, we're recording this, so if you need to watch it later, you can absolutely do that. We'll be sending you an email shortly after the presentation today. All right, well, we've got a lot to talk about. This is a big topic, and it's one that's, I think, been really even more important during the pandemic as email volumes have gone off the charts. We've never seen anything like it in the email industry. You know, worldwide email volume has gone up over 40% in the last year as people turn to email as the channel to engage with their subscribers. So there's a lot to talk about today as inboxes are overflowing. So we'll just kind of dive right into it. That's me. I'm Kirk. A lot of you know me. I miss you guys. I just want to say that right now. I so wish we could be in person, but I guess until then, this will have to do. I'm the biz dev director here, also the manager of customer experience. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me directly or hit me up on Twitter, where I sometimes am trying not to lose my mind. What are we talking about today? So why is engagement critical to the success of your email program? We'll look at that. We'll talk about the different types of disengaged subscribers. Why is this happening? Why do you have disengaged subscribers on your list? It's not because you're a bad person or you ate too much chocolate this week. It happens to everyone. It's okay. We'll look at some re-engagement campaigns, and then we'll talk about how to say goodbye. So those are a few of the topics that we'll cover today. I guess we'll just start here with, please, don't send to disengaged subscribers, at least not for too long. I know that, there are a lot of opinions out there and a lot of people pressuring you to build up your list as big as you can. It's really not the thing you want to do. Just having a big list is really not the way forward with email marketing. That might have worked several years ago, but it's really not going to be the way that mailboxes are going to allow you to reach the inbox. So a couple reasons. Why should you not send to disengaged subscribers, right? In some ways, it's counterintuitive. You're thinking to yourself, hey, I captured their email address, they gave it to me. Why don't I just keep sending to them? I mean, it's not that expensive. Email's pretty cost-effective medium. Who knows? Maybe one day they'll just turn back on, right? Well, the first reason you shouldn't think that way, and you should educate your whole team on not thinking that way, is because it's going to damage your ability to reach the inbox. And I will just say this really quick. I stopped there because I got a question. So if you have questions, that's fine. Send them in, but I'll answer them at the end because it just totally screws up my flow. Okay, so I'll answer your questions right at the end. The first reason you should not be sending to disengaged subscribers is because it really does affect the long-term health of your ability to reach the inbox. So, mailboxes are really sophisticated now. It's not like the old days. If some of you have been, with Wordfly and been with me on this journey for years now, it used to be a lot different. But mailboxes are using really sophisticated algorithms. You think about the Facebook algorithm or, the Instagram or the Twitter algorithm. They are using the same technology on mailboxes now. So, algorithms are not just confined to social media. This is really sophisticated stuff. Hotmail and Gmail and all of those inboxes that you're sending to, they are looking really carefully at what you're sending, who you're sending to, and if those folks are engaging with you. They're also looking at the age of the inbox that you're sending to. So this is all really critical, that you're not sending to subscribers who are not engaging with you. Mailboxes, their algorithm looks at a lot of things like the health of your IP. Now that's something that we're really careful about, and making sure that, that everyone, if you're on a shared IP, this is what we want to make sure that we're all in this together, right? So if you're sending out emails to a bunch of folks who aren't engaging, you are hurting your fellow arts marketer because they might be sharing an IP with you. Now, if you want to, remove that issue, you can go and pay a little extra and get your own IP. That's fine, and then you're totally in control there. Now, this really usually isn't a big issue, but you do have to remember that you're sharing an IP, and so you've got to do your part to keep the IP healthy. Engagement matters. This algorithm is tuned to look for opens and clicks. That's what it's looking for. So, that engagement is important, whether it's good or bad engagement, whether it's opens, clicks, or just never downloading images, or whether it's, just always deleting the email. They're all a little bit different. Right? And of course, unsubscribes and bounces, soft bounces, hard bounces, all those things matter. As well as, how much are you sending? If a big issue is, and we're kind of going off the engagement path here, but, if you start sending to a bunch of folks that haven't been engaging with you, all of a sudden overnight, you're sending 100,000 emails to them, think like a robot here. That looks like something a spammer would do. Just out of the blue, all of a sudden, you just start emailing hundreds of thousands or even 50,000 or 20,000 inboxes that are not, generally engaging with you. The algorithm that's looking at that isn't smart enough to think, oh yeah, well, they're a good sender, maybe they're just starting to reopen their venue again. And so that's why they're sending again. The algorithm doesn't think that way. It's not a person. This is a robot back there that's just very, binary. It's just a 1 or a 0, good or bad. So, just try to think about your engagement that way, and try to think about your subscribers that way. I generally don't like to recommend that people think like a robot, but in this case, it's probably going to be better for your overall success of your program. And then some of the other things, authentication, right? That's something we take care of right at the get-go when you set up your account. So we help you on that. And then the technology infrastructure, we've got that all set up. So, there's a lot of things that go into this, but by sending to those who are not engaging with you long term, you're going to hurt your ability to reach the truly engaged subscribers, right? So, by rolling the dice and thinking, well, great, who knows, maybe one day they will engage. Your truly engaged subscribers who are engaged may end up suffering for that. Secondly, it is costly. The way that Wordfly and most other email providers do your pricing, it's usually based on some kind of combination of, how big of a list are you sending to? How big is your total subscriber list? Can also be a part of it, like we do. And then some ESPs use, how often you send. Maybe you can get up to a limit. You can send up to 100,000, and then there's a limit after that, and you'll pay more after that. Ours is pretty basic, right? So most people know how Wordfly, works. We don't think about lists, list A, list B, list C. It's just all one big list in your account, right? And everyone who is in your account is either active or inactive. So and engagement doesn't really fit into that, with the exception of unsubscribes or bounces, right? So if you're sending to somebody and they haven't unsubscribed, or they haven't hard bounced, or they haven't clicked the this is spam button, that's an active user. But that can get pricey with disengaged subscribers. So if you've got people on your list who have not clicked or opened in several months or even several years, I know there are folks who have got subscribers who have never clicked or haven't clicked for 2 years. What are you doing? You are just absolutely throwing away money. So have you ever heard any of these following statements in a meeting about engaging with your subscribers? Yes, that's true, but at least we're in their inbox. We have their email address. At least we can reach them, I guess. I mean, if they're never engaging, is that even a good email box? Are they even home? Are they there? The board says we need the biggest list possible. Okay, why? Just to have a big list. Big list is really just a vanity metric. It doesn't really say anything about you. What it says is that to mailboxes is that you're really not paying very close attention. If they're seeing that your engagement rates are really low for their, all the subscribers you have on Hotmail or Gmail or something, to them, that looks like a potential spammy move. I know they've never engaged, but they might one day, maybe, right? Again, kind of like the first one, or at least we're in the inbox. The chances are very slim that a disengaged subscriber who has not clicked or opened or done anything with your email, in the last 6 months to a year, is just going to wake up one day and start spending money with you. So, you're wasting money on that subscriber. And here's another good one. Fundraising says we can't let go of that email address because who knows, one day they might come to the gala or they might donate, or, it's absolutely critical. The board knows this. We just have to have as many possible email addresses. So, if they're going to be on the development list, we might as well just keep them on the marketing list too. And let's just keep sending them as much mail as possible. And again, it's just highly unlikely. I mean, you should go back and look at your stats. And I think that you will see that they back me up, that the disengaged subscribers don't suddenly just turn around and wake up and start spending gobs of money with you. That's generally just not how it works. That's not how humans work with their mailboxes. A lot of times, people will create a bogus mailbox, or they'll just put you into one of their mailboxes that they don't use very much. You're not lucky enough to get into their work email. It's just their third Gmail account that they created just to capture promotional stuff. So those are the ones, you really just are throwing, good money after, bad money after good. I can't remember the phrase, but it's a waste of money. Okay. So just remember that. And if you've heard the following, you can argue and push back against this. Why not focus on the folks that are truly engaged? All right, so let's talk about these. But who are these people? who are these people that are on my list that are just not interacting with me? So this is kind of a fun way to think about it. It's very technical, I know. And I'm going to just kind of include a little bit of our little star system here so you get an idea. Now, this is not an exact science here that I've put together on this slide, but it's just a general way, especially for maybe new users or folks who haven't really thought about this too much, to just kind of think about who are the different types of folks on your list. So in the lower left-hand quadrant, we have ghosts. These are folks that have really never engaged. They signed up for your list. Maybe they did something once, or just nothing at all. If you've got folks on your list who have signed up and just never clicked or opened or done anything with your email, you really need to let those go. Now, these are not new subscribers. Don't confuse these with new subscribers. We definitely at Wordfly give new subscribers a chance. And new subscribers, they get some stars right off the bat. So you have an opportunity to keep emailing those, to keep emailing to those folks. But ghosts should be removed. Zombies. So these guys are scary, right? These are the folks that are they were once engaged, they signed up, looked like a good email, but now they've got very little. So I say 90 days. You can use your own kind of metric there. But I think doing this quarterly is a good way to look. And if they were once engaged, maybe partially, but have very little engagement now, that's questionable. So those folks usually get 1 star with us, and we don't really like those guys either. Those folks are, can often be very dangerous to your program. That means that what you're looking at there is you could be at risk for having what's called a spam trap there. So a spam trap is a once good email address that the subscriber has abandoned, and then the ISP has taken over and turned into a trap to catch spammers, and you're emailing it and falling right into their trap. And if you do that, it is an absolute, thinking about ghosts and zombies, it is an absolute nightmare to fix that for you and for us. And so that's something you've got to be careful about. If you fall into the trap of sending to a spam trap, you will regret it. I promise you. It's such a nightmare. I've watched people struggle with it. It's impossible to get your emails delivered after that. And no, there isn't a way. Some people say, well, can we use a service to clean spam traps off of our list? That completely defeats the purpose. There is not a mailbox on earth that is going to tell a company the addresses that are all spam traps. Why would they do that, right? Those spam traps are there, and they're a secret so that spammers will send to them unknowingly and they can catch the spammers. They're not going to go tell some company what those spam traps are and take them off your list, right? That would completely defeat the purpose. So you've got to watch out for these ghosts and these zombies, right? These guys really need to be removed from your list. And keep in mind, we actually help you with that. So we remove those some of these really low rated email addresses for you on lists that are over 5,000. So keep that in mind. But you also need to look, and instead of just letting us do that on our end, you should really just get them off your list. Okay, so those are 2 very clear-cut instances where you should be removing disengaged subscribers. Now, this one is what we're really talking about today. So I like to call these the sleepers, right? So nothing wrong with sleeping. That's a perfectly good activity. But you're probably going to want to re-engage those folks. And really you want to look at this on a quarterly basis. And if you've got folks that are, sleeping throughout the entire, into Q3, if you start at the beginning of the year, that's probably going to be someone that's going to turn into a zombie. They're going to start going from, a 2 or a 3 star once engaged pretty well with you and then become a zombie. So you really want to make sure that you look at who those folks are and look carefully at the rest of their data. Are they VIPs? Are they donors? Are they ticket buyers? And obviously this is a difficult time right now to think about this when all your venues are closed. I get that. But I think, you can set up a scenario and a strategy where you're looking at this and deciding who should stay and who should go. So the sleepers are the folks that you should really put together an engagement campaign for. And that should be a very targeted and hopefully automated setup so that it's really just part of your program. And then when someone stops engaging with you, you can have Wordfly just automatically ask them, hey, what's going on? You still with us? Do you still want to be on this list? That's a great thing to do. It really shows folks that you're paying attention. So we'll look at how to re-engage those folks later. And then woohoo, these are our engaged folks, right? They're dancing at the wedding. They're your dance partner. They've raised their hand. They want to party with you. They love you guys. They're engaged. So you want to look at that engagement. I say 30 days, but use your best judgment. But I really wouldn't go past 30 or 60 days. I mean, if they're just not clicking and opening, and you've sent them, let's say, I don't know, 10, 20 campaigns, that's somebody that you really need to think about. Are they really engaged with you? Unlikely. So that's a little bit, these are broad strokes again, and we can dive in, and you can always email support and we can kind of look at carefully together a little bit more of a program for you. But for the newly initiated, all right, this is kind of a good way to think about who's on your list. All right, so no, you are not a bad email marketer. This happens to every email marketer. This is the nature of email marketing. It's really the nature of all marketing. Think about your Twitter feed or your Facebook feed and the groups or, people that you follow there. Are you entirely engaged with all of them all the time? Are there some of them that you just don't care about, but don't follow anymore? Of course there are. And that happens with email marketing as well. Why does it happen? The first one is you've just kind of fallen into a black hole. You've fallen into a little bit of a rut. The good thing about this is that this is typically a problem that you can fix through a remodel, through a redesign. Refurbish your emails, do something new, start over. Emails just like anything else. You don't want to watch the same TV show over and over again, right? It needs to be new and novel and interesting. So think about that. Do your emails need something new? Go look at the Museum of Modern Email that we've got. Are your emails museum worthy? They really need to be these days. People are really expecting extreme high quality and value in the inbox. So think about if it's time for an email redesign. You really should be doing some A/B testing to see what works. I know that's a big topic and a whole nother, topic we can go into on its own, but think about that. Play around with your subject lines. What works better? 10 letters or over 50 or under 50? Play around with that. Put some emoji in there. See what you can do. Try something big and bold. Try something totally different. Sometimes people, just get used to seeing the same old thing and it's just an automatic skip. Consider the fact that people are looking at their inbox much like they would Instagram, and especially on the phone, they're just scrolling through it. So you've really got to do something to stand out. That might mean animated GIF. It might mean video, a big question. Questions work great to get interest. It might mean a survey. So take a look at the reporting, try to optimize, for the best experience. And by that, I mean, take a look at what devices people are on. Take a look at, where people are opening your email, that kind of thing, and try to optimize for that experience. This is another big one. And people, I think, sometimes confuse this, maybe with boredom or just disengagement, This is really a psychological thing, and as marketers and advertisers, this is your game here, right? This is showing value. And this is a psychological question. You know, I really like this idea of, obviously of permission marketing. And I love the idea that, a subscriber giving you their email address is a trade. That's a transaction. And in return for them giving you something that's valuable to them that they want to protect, they expect that you're going to treat that with respect and value it highly and provide really excellent information. But more than that, I think often people sign up on an email list to get the inside track. And I think that's a really important thing you need to think about at your organization. What is the secret information that you're giving them that you're not giving to anyone else? Why did I sign up for this list if I can just go see this on social or just go get this deal on your website? It's got to be something that nobody else gets. Otherwise, there's no transaction really happening there. There's no trade there. I've given you my email address, but you're giving the same information to me that you give to everyone else. That's not fair. So consider the fact that is a transaction that has to have value there for people. So, when we think about us as humans, what do we want from people? We want people to solve a problem for us. We want people to make us look smart. Like, oh, hey, well, I signed up for this list and I got 20% off, or I got early access. That also gives you greater status, right? Fundraising people and development people, I think, understand this on a very deep level, that what that donation does for somebody, and their status. And then listen, add a survey, let people tell you how they feel. Managing the CX, department, that means support. I hear how you guys feel all the time. And that's a good thing. We like to hear that. We want to hear that. And you should too, so you want to open those doors and say, sign up for this list. We'll give you the opportunity to give your feedback to us. People want to be heard. People want to problem solve. People want to look good. They want to impress their friends, right? And all that stuff might sound a little cliche and shallow, but when you get right down to it, that's what people are all about. So not shallow and, hollow, but just, these are real basic, things about people. So just think about that in relation to your email program. Does it really have value for us at a very deeply human level? Okay, here's one. I just answer this question all day long. We're sending too much email. We're not sending enough email. There is no right answer. I'm sorry, but there isn't. You've got to test and review. I personally think that arts organizations and cultural organizations send oftentimes too little email. You're afraid, and you have a lot of different departments. Most for-profit organizations don't have marketing and fundraising and classes, and all these other things. And you guys have all of those. And so, you put those all together and that can be a lot of email. I get it. But there are ways to, I think, tie that together. The biggest thing, though, is to add a sense of import to your emails, right? You need to make each email an event that's expected and excited to receive in the email, in the inbox. I like doing this little thought experience. What experiment? What are the magazines or podcasts? Yes, I still subscribe to magazines. What are the, what's that feeling I get when I get that magazine or that podcast pops up, in my podcast app, or that TV series has a new episode on Netflix or Hulu or whatever it is. Like what makes that exciting for me? And oftentimes, it's the lead up to that. Here it comes. There's new episodes coming out. There's new emails getting ready to come out. Here's what's coming in next month's episode. Let's just take the monthly newsletter. You can make that really anticipated. You can make that something that comes out on a certain day of the month, every month, and people know exactly what's going to be in it. They can't wait to dig in and dive in. You can make that a magazine type experience. And so, I think, again, you deal a lot with this, and this is value and, thinking of value and thinking of how often you send. But, if you're just cramming a bunch of stuff in your email just to get, quote, just to get the email out the door, that's not how you want to think about it. And I get that that's hard. But it is important to remember that subscribers get hundreds of emails a day. You should try out different cadences, see what happens if you go up 20%. What happens if you go up 50%? What if you go down? Mess around with that, play around, see what's the right cadence for people, or give people the choice. Ask them, how often do you want to hear from us? Let them tell you. So wrong cadence can also be a reason why people stop engaging. There's that old stat, the reason why people unsubscribe the most, are two things. The email, it doesn't look good / doesn't engage them. It's just not a good experience. Or the second thing is you sent me either too many or too few. So those are your top reasons people unsubscribe. And that's probably the reason why people disengage too. Another reason is just too cluttered of an experience. It's too confusing. When I signed up for your email program, you had 12 or 15 different preferences. I didn't know, so I just clicked sign up for all, or I clicked 5 or 8. I have no idea what I'm receiving anymore. I don't know what belongs to marketing or fundraising or membership or education. Everything's muddled. It's not clear. You need to make sure that you try to keep that simple. Human beings can't remember that many different preferences. We just can't. Even 4 or 5, it has to be clearly marked at the top of the email. It should say, probably doesn't need to say, from marketing department, but you get the idea. You need to make some mini brands so people understand what they're getting, so they're engaging with these different little aspects of the organization. I know for you guys, it's great to think about, oh man, we have 12 different preferences, and, each department's going to have 3 or 4 different things. And that's just a lot. It's a lot. Could you remember that many? And that's difficult, and so you just start to feel overwhelmed as a subscriber. So try to keep it simple. Clearly mark those with a little mini brand, or do it in the copy, something that kind of sets it off. I've seen some great organizations do a great thing just with color. The marketing is, red, for example, and fundraising is green or whatever. So think about, are there ways that you can use a color scheme to just clearly define what people are getting? That could even be for dance or theater, there can be different colors. A lot of you guys do that on your calendars. Maybe you can say more with fewer categories. Is there a way that you can clearly define things in the actual email itself, so that, here's our calendar, and then down here is, information about our gala that's coming up. Just make it more clear, clearly define those sections, instead of just like smashing everything in there and separating stuff with a little, line break. Again, people are looking at your email, just kind of scrolling through it once they open it. So it needs to be clearly marked and kind of demarcated that way. And then also think about, maybe, don't try to make email do everything. There are other channels, and maybe, the way to make that email valuable and special is by putting other content on other channels and driving people to those other channels, and keeping email as this very special thing that you only get if you give us your email address. That's the secret program that you sign up for if you really, really want the inside track. The rest of you guys can go over and, we'll engage with you on Twitter or Instagram. Okay, let's take a look at some engagement campaigns and just talk about what these look like. So you need to think about this as a routine thing. You can't just do this every 2 years. You need to really, I know this sounds like a lot of work, but you really need to think about this as kind of a quarterly duty that someone needs to do. And you need to make list cleanup and re-engagement a really kind of a programmatic, part of your practice. So try to sit down and think about how you would create a system to do this. We can talk to you about this. Hopefully it's automated. You can use triggered emails. If you're using Tessitura, you can sync up Wordfly and Tessitura to automatically reach out to people. It can't just be one email. If people aren't reading your emails and you send them an email saying, hey, do you still want to, be on this list? They're probably not going to see it. So you might want to think about other ways that you can engage perhaps the box office or fundraising or other folks, and get everybody on the same page, and if you're reaching out to a customer, you can say, hey, I've noticed that you're not really, doesn't look like you're reading our email again. Is that valuable for you? Do you still want to be on that list? So there's lots of ways, to ask people about this. You can send a survey to people to say, do they still want to be on it? But just sending a one-off email every quarter that's on a, triggered thing, that's not going to do it. So you need to, probably make it 3 to 4 emails over a week. Hopefully it will pop up, and I would say, for that re-engagement campaign, you want to turn up the volume and turn up the cadence really high, because they're obviously not paying attention. So this is your shot, this is your shout. You want to just really make it clear, saying, hey, this is it. We're going to end this unless we hear from you. It's a good time to use humor. It's a good time to really show that value. It's a good time to add an incentive. If you really want someone's attention, give them a screaming deal, right? Nothing works better than a screaming deal, right? Here's a couple of ones, I just grabbed, that do this well. Obviously, these aren't, these are for profit and not your brand, but, these guys both get it, right? If you're not engaging, they're asking you, how do you want to proceed? And if you can think about Urban Outfitters or Pottery Barn, how expensive this is for them to have subscribers that aren't engaging when your list is, let's say, 10 or 15 million. That's a huge list, and if 30% of that is or more is disengaged, you're really, they're just throwing money away. So these brands are really, really good with this. This is fully automated, and if you don't click or open, you'll usually get something. The other kind of brands that are great with this, it's a little bit different, but little products that you might sign up for online, a little free product. It's more salesy, but they're always reaching out to you to say, like, hey, what's going on? Can we re-engage with you? Can we get you to use the application? Can you log in? Can you play around? So that's another kind of good way of thinking about it, with, they really want you to engage with their application, not so much the email, but, they're using that email as a way to get you involved in their organization again. Okay, so hopefully you're all convinced. You're thinking, fine, okay, Kirk, whatever, I'll do it. So your next step, you can go to Wordfly support, right? And just type in the word engagement. All kinds of good stuff comes up here. I know there's a question about, there's questions about the star system, about our rankings. It can get a little confusing to get into in just like 30 minutes here. But these posts outline the whole thing. And it's good to know that, when you're looking at engagement, we have kind of 2 ways of rating people, right? So we've got kind of a numerical, like a score that goes from, minus 100 to plus 100. And then we use that to basically make a simplified version that just adds stars to each person's email address. Okay, so just depending on what their score is, though, it's, the simplified version of this is, if they do things that show engagement, clicking, opening, downloading images, forwarding your email, all those things are good positive signs, right? So that gives you stars. And it's also looked at within a time frame, so things that, show us that they're not engaged, soft bouncing over and over, never downloading images, never, clicking and opening, over time, you may start out with a couple stars and you go down to none. So that's a very simplified version of, just kind of how that works. So you might want to just, go in there and just kind of dig around. There's a lot of good reading there. Okay, so your next steps are to, if you want to start this practice, and I encourage you all to do it, get some reporting from Wordfly. There's tons of information in reporting. You can pull engagement and not engagement from Wordfly. So go into the reporting download or drop down, and then go to export data. And that's where you're going to be able to see a lot of that information. What I like to do is I personally like to get that all in Excel, and then I can kind of filter and sort all the different columns. So that I think that's a good way to do it. You could also do this in your CRM. All the data that we get gets sent back to Testura. So you could pretty easily do that there. You could talk to your DBA and say, hey, this is kind of generally what we want to do, or have them watch this video and say, how, you got any ideas on how we could kind of search for engagement and disengagement, and then think about how you might set up a triggered campaign based on that kind of query that they'll create for you. So remove those ghosts first. If you're going to do it on your own, get rid of those 0 stars and the zombies and the 1 stars. You might try to re-engage the zombies, maybe. It's unlikely that you'll get any action from that. Generally the sleepers, I think often they're usually pretty good subscribers. But you never know. Sometimes someone just kind of turns off and you never hear from them again. So start looking at those two categories. The ghosts are pretty easy. You just want to get rid of those. And if you've got some zombies in there, you probably just want to get rid of those too. So 0 stars, 1 stars. And then think about your automated plan, and then finally, never forget, listen, the old days are way gone, okay? There's no human being looking at your engagement. This is all about algorithms and robots. And so you need to start thinking like the Terminator here, because that's who you're really sending to. You're sending to your subscribers, but you're also sending to this algorithm that is looking at your activity. And so just think about it practically. If you were a robot and all of a sudden you started sending 10,000 emails to a bunch of addresses that have never clicked or opened, what does that look like from your perspective? It doesn't look that good. So it's good to think about it from that perspective. Just want to wrap up by saying we miss you terribly. So if you have an idea, you want to talk to us about something, please email us at support. Miguel and Brian and I, we are all here to help you. So please let us know. Make sure you visit the museum. There's all kinds of good stuff in there. I don't know if we have any great re-engagement campaigns in there. I will poke around and see if we can find some. If you've got a great one you've done recently, send it to me and we'll get it in there. But one way or the other, you should definitely, make a habit of poking around in there. There's so many gorgeous designs. So if you're worried that maybe your, email might need a little bit of a spruce up, that's a good place to go. Okay, I can see my little screen is telling me there are some questions here. So let me see if I can get some of these here. Okay, here's a quick one. Can you add a video into an email in Wordfly? Yes, you can. There's a couple of ways to do video and email. I will say, I think that really, and our little tool makes it pretty easy to do it. I will say that these days, I think you're really just better off using the YouTube link and sending people to a customized YouTube channel that you're curating. But you definitely can put a video in an email. But again, keep in mind, most email mailboxes will not be able to show it. So it really only works in iOS on the phone. There might be a couple other random ones out there. So I think really you're better off. Personally, I like, if you want to get movement in there, do an animated GIF that's like a little clip of the video and then make that a link and then send people to YouTube. I think that works better. Doing an actual email or an actual video in an email is doable, but you're going to have to host it on your own site. So it can't be hosted on YouTube or Vimeo or anywhere like that. And yeah, I don't know. It's just probably a little bit more. And then you have to remember that most people won't be able to see it. So it's a little bit more work than it's probably worth. Let's see here. Okay, so here's a question. Do you remove these disengaged subscribers from Wordfly or just change their preferences in Tessitura? That's a great question. I think you're probably better off to make those changes in Tessitura and just stop pulling them on your lists. And then they will, once you stop emailing them, after 90 days, then they'll drop off your list in Wordfly. So I would start with your CRM. That's probably the best first place to go, because in Wordfly, we're just looking at Tessitura. I would say, so that's your best bet. Start in your CRM. And just on the new subscribers things, I'm drawing a complete blank right now. I think new subscribers are given 2 stars. I will double check on that, Charlotte. I don't know why, I can't remember that. So, but yeah, there's no concern there. I don't think you'll mistake it, because new subscribers get kind of a free pass when they first start. Okay, let's see here. Some of these questions are kind of long. For the coding, do you have recommendations? I'm going to go over to, I've got a couple more. There's a few that came up in the chat. I'm going to look at these. Someone's asking about 3 stars. I think if you if you really want to get the kind of the drill down on the 3 stars or any of the stars, go to that support website and it'll explain exactly how we rank each of those stars. So it'll tell you what a 0 star means, what a new subscriber means. So just go, and it explains it in really great detail. It's a lot to go over just right here. So go through, each star ranking is listed and it will tell you exactly how we manage them. So go drop into that support site. All you got to do is use the search word engagement or re-engagement and you'll find it all right there. All right, I think we talked about this one, just about, what's the best steps on, doing the, unmarking them. I think you're probably better off to go into Tessitura and do it. There's probably a way we can set up kind of a, suppression list or, something in Wordfly. But again, I think you're probably just better off to go into your CRM and start it there. And then you're just not importing those people into Wordfly anymore. Can we manually add someone to a preference category if they re-engage? I'm not quite sure I get that one, Anne. Maybe you could follow up on that one with me. I'm not good at reading when I'm on the spot here. Oh, yeah, good question. Yeah, if you're not connected to a CRM, then definitely, we can do all this in Wordfly, and we can help you walk through that. Just email support and say, hey, I want to get rid of, all my disengaged subscribers. Can you walk me through that process? And the guys on support will help you walk through that. Okay, I know there's lots more questions coming in, but I want to wrap this up so people can get on with their day. So email your questions to support, or you can reach out to me directly. I know there's a couple longer questions. I'm looking at you, Jamie, that I didn't answer, so I'm not ignoring you, but they're kind of long questions and we'll take a little bit more explaining than I have time here for. So let's do that. You guys follow up with any questions I didn't reach today, and we will we'll catch you online on the support channel. I want to thank you guys all for joining me today. I know this is kind of a scary and interesting topic, so let's keep working on it. But I think really, long-term, think of this as a long-term, practice that you want to put into your email program. And sorry, there were a couple more questions coming in, so I was just checking out those, make sure there wasn't anything burning down. It sounds like we're good. So thanks again, everyone. I'll stop this and we'll send you an email so that you can share this video with the rest of your team if you want to. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next time.